Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. And we are officially in spring, actually, a handful of days into spring. Yay. Uh,
Full-blown summer here though,
yeah,
but
yeah.
mango season is coming soon, so I'm excited.
Well, here we are going back and forth between warm and cold, still kind of cold overnight in the mornings, but everything's starting to bloom. I'm like watching all the trees and flowers starting to come out, and it's actually pretty cool to watch the cherry tree next door as the buds are coming and the flowers are slowly starting to come out. So I'm expecting any day now to just walk out in the morning and be poof, cherry blossoms. So I'm enjoying watching that. It's nice to see spring kind of spring out.
When does pollen season start?
Oh, it's
Around now? Yeah.
it, it's
Good luck,
there.
pollen allergy folks.
Yeah. So further east of me, they're already complaining about the layer of yellow. I haven't seen a whole layer of it yet, but it's coming. Where everything is just covered in pollen. It's just it's just a yellow haze. And when we have a lot of pine trees, and when the wind starts kicking up with all the probably a little toward the end of the month, it's going to be it looks almost like smog. It's everywhere. It coats everything. And then yes, those of us with allergies will really be achoo, a lot. Or just ugh. So yeah, everyone buy Allegra stock or whatever your poison is for that.
I have a
Um,
really skewed perspective on seasons because I'm a Southern Californian. So I kind of never learned when the seasons start and when they end because they kind of just bleed into each other and they're not super different. So I'm really deficient in that. I got to be honest. Like I don't know when spring is exactly. I just look outside and I'm like, it's either sunny today or it's not sunny today.
I
Those are the two
miss
seasons.
I miss that. Although when I lived in San Diego, we would still get chilly mornings during the winter down by the water, and some mornings I would actually have to wear a coat when I took my kids to school because it would actually get down in the mid 30s early in the morning, and then after burned off it was back to normal weather. But yeah, an actual coat once in a
I
while.
kind of miss having a winter wardrobe. I had like really perfected it just before I moved back.
It took you 7
I was
years to
just,
perfect it.
um, listen, I've never had a winter growing up, so it was like year one was like, oh, I need a heavier jacket than this, and the year two was like, this jacket is really ugly. Then I had to add the boots and the scarf and the gloves, and then move from like non-ugly to ugly. So it was a long iterative process. Okay.
All right. Oh, and Stuart says Easter is coming. Yum, chocolate. You're right, Stuart. And I think though all of the Easter stuff has been in the stores already for 2 or 3 weeks. At least here, there's chocolate everywhere. Although I think they went from Valentine's Day to immediately Easter chocolate, so there was never really a break. So chocolate to chocolate. So Ross wants to know, when was the first time you saw snow?
Oh, I think it was my freshman spring break. Everybody went to Florida and I went to Canada because my aunt lives there. So she was like, "Oh, it's quite a warm spring," and it was like below freezing. So that was that was interesting. No,
That
wait, I did see snow in 1999 when I was on a family trip in London. That was really cool. But the first time I was like feeling the cold was that spring break. That was
huh.
tough.
I don't how did we get on stores, Keith? Speaking of stores, would buy JumpCloud socks. I know, I think that needs to be our next community venture. That's how we'll make money. We'll just open up a mini store. We were
Chocolate
talking
comes from
about
stores.
chocolate comes from stores. Okay, that's how we mentioned stores. I was just checking. I wasn't sure how that came up. Oh, that's right. Yeah, bonfire. For a minute there, I thought you were talking about setting things on fire, starting with a bonfire. But yes, bonfire does the stores where you can buy things on demand. So hmm, I will think about that. Thank you for the suggestion, Keith. And no, you don't even have to put in a feature request for that. we'll just we'll just put that into consideration. All right. So March 22nd. We're getting close to the end of the month already. Past the Ides of March and all of that. So wow. Well, you do look like Urvashi says in the comments, you're an AI generated persona. And as you're
I
fading in
mean,
and
I'm
out,
glitching all the
you're
time.
glitching.
So,
You kind of look like you might be one. So there we go. That's what you get for using virtual backgrounds.
I mean, hey, if y'all want to look at my messy apartment and my cat in the corner, I can switch back to that.
That's why I use the slightly fuzzy background. Although this weird thing you see, what that I'm pointing at, it just looks red. That is actually a little tiny lobster with magnets in its claws so it can hang onto my lamp. And my kid was playing with it last night, so he stuck it on the light there. So I know there are weird shapes when they're all
Now you can
blurry.
see my TV and my bookshelves and my kitchen.
That's not bad. There's nothing wrong with that.
My self is hiding most of the mess.
Yeah, if you zoom in further and kind of, fill it up.
This is the IT hour, Roger. Welcome. We keep it really technical. It's super
Fun.
serious.
The JumpCloud Clown Hour.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out what IT stands for. It's not information technology most of the time. It's something else. I'm sure somebody in the comments will come up with a really good acronym. All right. We've got our usual schedule today. We're going to talk about what's going on in the community, and we do have some quick product news, and then we're going to hand it over to Rodger because he has some really cool stuff to show us and some demo things going on. So Urvishi's coming up with her own things in the chat there. All right, so I'm going to pull up my community stuff. So if you haven't heard the news, we have acquired a company called Resmo out of Turkey, and we're very excited for what this means because there's some IT asset management stuff going on there that we're really looking forward to incorporating and telling you more about that. But for the community update, both co-founders, Serhat and Mustafa, have put some intros in the community. And I'm telling you, they've got some really cool backgrounds, and they've mentioned working with community before. So, like Serhat has been an evangelist before, and Mustafa is like a Star Wars nerd. So, go check those out. Go welcome them. Please make them feel welcome. We're really excited to have them as part of the team. I love that they shared some really interesting things that will hopefully resonate with some of you. So we'll have those in the show notes. And Urvish, if you want to put those in the chat really quickly, you're welcome to. And one script to share from Sean. Again, he and Jurgen are both so prolific. Actually, I think I skipped a couple from Jurgen because they just came in and I didn't get a chance to copy them. But for Sean, it was auto enroll your servers to JumpCloud. Speaking of Linux servers in particular. So go take a look at those. And product news. If you didn't see it, Josh announced that the private repositories are officially general availability, which is very exciting. And if you were here on the March 8th episode, we talked a little bit more about that repository. So you can go back and watch that and check out Josh's post about the private repository as well. He's got some more resources to point you to. Also, JumpCloud Go, available on Firefox browser extensions. Whoop, whoop. So you have to install the browser extension in order for end users to see the option to log in with JumpCloud Go, but that is now available. Scott made a post on the community and he gives you some links to some additional resources on that as well. Super excited to have that finally available. And I'm seeing some things here. Keith, thank you that you're excited about the Resmo integration. Brandon, I don't yet know when we will have this incorporated into JumpCloud. It's got an ETA, like Urvashi said in the chat. I'm just saying that out loud so people who are watching the live stream will hear it. So we will, of course, be talking more about that. Actually, I think both Serhat and Mustafa are planning on, doing some more posts in the community as we make inroads on that. Also, they are both going to come on the IT Hour next month on the 26th. So maybe by then we'll have some more to share, or you can ask them at that time. But again, believe me, as soon as we have information available on how that's going and when we will do some product integrations or releases or whatever it is we're planning on doing. Hey, sorry, guys, we're not actually in product, so we don't have news to share right at this moment. But as soon as we have something available, we will let you know for sure. So excited about them joining us on the 26th, though. That's going to be really cool. And I love that they're making themselves available to everyone. So, Urvashi, there's a lot going by the chat. Is there anything else that we need to talk about in
Ross
there?
was saying that if they were here on the 8th of March episode, do they get an extra 8 KB in private repo space? And I asked him to submit a 2,500 word essay for us to pass on to the product team, to which he said that he's going to put ChatGPT to work.
Ah, I see. Oh yeah, we had a big debate, Rodger, on that. We were joking around about how many times you participate in the IT hour or in
I love
betas
that.
and things like that to get extra space in the private repo, because Adobe and a couple other things like pretty much eat the whole thing up, even with 10 gig. So there you go.
That's a great idea. I second the motion.
Yeah. Oh, 2,500 words isn't 8 kilobytes. It's only 5. Oh, are you asking for additional homework, Ross? Because, we could always assign you additional homework. All right. So with that, Rodger, I think it is your turn. I know you've got some
Cool.
presentation and some demoing to do. So
Yep. Hi,
let's do it.
everybody. I appreciate the warm welcome to my inaugural IT hour visit. So let me share. Give me a second.
And yes, everyone, we tested this ahead of time. So
Well,
hopefully it will work again.
we're gonna do a little live demo. There are the demo gods that sometimes just do things a little differently than you'd like, but I'm a senior sales engineer. I demo all day, so hopefully this will go well. So what are we talking about today? So really the question is, how to cut the cord to Active Directory, right? AKA shutting off AD, decommissioning my domain controllers, disconnecting AD from my JumpCloud environment, whatever you want to call it. The intention here really is you have migrated from AD to JumpCloud, but AD is still connected to your JumpCloud environment, and you have to figure out what's the process to finally deprecate AD once and for all. And we have a lot of documentation, a significant amount of documentation about how to incorporate AD, lots of documentation about how to extend your AD to JumpCloud, but we don't have a ton of documentation about this kind of last step. So that's why we're here today, to kind of help you through what this last step might look like. So really, there's this fairly typical journey that you see from Active Directory to JumpCloud, right? The first step usually is what we call extending AD to JumpCloud, right? AD is fundamental to your business. JumpCloud is really complementing Active Directory. The next step tends to be, shrinking your AD footprint to just those core services, right? So you minimize your AD footprint. It's retained specifically for legacy applications. That usually means moving all your end user computers, your Windows 10, Windows 11 machines over, and keeping this just for core application servers, right? And then the final leg in that journey is usually that you are disconnecting AD from JumpCloud completely, right? AD is no longer needed, and you migrate away completely from Active Directory and fully into JumpCloud. And this is kind of a graphical representation. We did a webinar about this called Modernizing AD a while ago. So I am repurposing some of our really cool graphics that we created for that. But really, this is like extending AD. You can see here, you have Active Directory on the left. This is propagating to and synchronizing with JumpCloud. And then that allows for the connectivity to things like HR solutions, other online tools. You can see there's an Android robot down there, Linux, Mac, etc. So this, is modernizing, extending AD, and giving it more capability. The middle one would be minimizing your AD footprint, right? This, you can see here, shows that you have devices, apps, full infrastructure, networking for VPNs, Wi-Fi, etc., connected to JumpCloud, and then those are synchronizing with AD. And then you still have some resources that are stuck in AD, right? You still have some servers, some databases, whatnot, that's sitting inside of AD. And then the last step is really this migration process of taking things from the left side here, which are Active Directory connected resources, then migrating those over to JumpCloud completely. I love this little animation. And then boom, whoops, sorry. And then here we go. You have JumpCloud and you have all your resources inside of JumpCloud. But there's still kind of an unspoken connectivity to AD here that we need to get rid of, right? So how do you actually cut that cord? Like, what do you actually do? Well, first, there's a few things that you want to consider. How is your JumpCloud ADI? ADI stands for Active Directory Integration. We call it ADI because saying Active Directory Integration 400 times a day gets old. So how do you actually, how did you actually deploy your ADI to JumpCloud, right? Do you have the import and the sync agents installed? Sync agent being the export agent, import being from AD into JumpCloud, sync being from JumpCloud into Active Directory. Do you have just the import agent installed, or do you have just the sync agent installed, right? These are slightly different variances. We support either of these three types of scenarios, and depending upon how you've deployed Active Directory will really determine how we kind of cut this cord, like what this looks like, right? And then a kind of asterisk thing is, do you currently use Azure AD Connect, which is now called Entra Connect? You'll hear me say Azure AD or Entra or M365 all interchangeably. They are effectively the same thing. They have since recently changed their name from Azure AD to Entra ID, and the name of the actual tool is called Entra Connect. I'm used to it now. In the beginning, it was very hard for me to remember that it's Entra ID, not Azure AD. Either way, are you using Azure AD Connect to get your users from AD to Azure AD to Entra ID, right? So first, let's talk a little bit about my asterisk piece here, this second piece that I was very concerned with. Let's say, look, you're using Entra Connect. It's in place. You are propagating your users from Active Directory up to Azure AD, Entra ID, using this tool. Well, obviously, when we sever Active Directory to JumpCloud, there's going to be an issue here because your users that are sitting up in Entra ID are actually directory synced users that are directly controlled by Active Directory. So prior to cutting this cord, you absolutely must migrate your Entra ID users from AD to JumpCloud, right? There is a prescribed process from Microsoft, and this is how Microsoft wants you to do it. So in your Azure AD Connect tool, in your Entra Connect tool, You are monitoring specific OUs, and those OUs inside of your Active Directory domain are what are determining the propagation of users to Azure. So you basically want to deselect those monitored OUs, right? This will effectively delete the user in Entra ID. That sounds scary, but it's not. This is the method that Microsoft wants you to use. You will then have to go into Entra ID and undelete that user. And now you've converted that user from a directory synced user to a cloud only user, right? And then you take over ownership. You assume control of that user inside of JumpCloud. We're going to assume you've already configured your JumpCloud Cloud Directory connector for Entra ID, and then you're going to simply bind that user to that Cloud Directory connector. And now JumpCloud owns that user in Entra, right? That's pushing of various attributes that you choose to push. That's user state, that's user password, that's even potentially user group membership, because we can control user groups inside of Entra ID if you choose, right? My most stern recommendation is test this and understand these steps before you actually process your entire user directory. So what that really looks like usually is creating another OU that's called test OU, monitoring that test OU, creating a test user in that OU, letting that user get propagated up into Azure AD, and then removing that OU from the monitoring piece of the Azure AD Connect tool, and then watching what happens to that test user, undeleting that test user, and then taking ownership of that test user from inside of JumpCloud. So just make sure that if you're using Azure AD Connect, you put some method in place to transition the ownership, the user management from AD to JumpCloud. Okay, move on to the fun stuff here. So if you have deployed JumpCloud ADI with either the import and sync agent or the sync agent only, there's a couple of methods here. And this is specific if you have the sync agent installed, because with the sync agent installed, JumpCloud has control over that password. Might have dual control. We might be sharing control with AD in the case of import and sync, or might have total control over that password if we have the sync agent only. There's kind of an easy off button here, and that is you literally just turn off your DCs, shut your domain controllers off, and you're done. It's fine. It'll work. There's nothing's going to happen to your environment. Everything's going to be fine. It's not very pretty. Inside your environment, you're still going to see an Active Directory integration setup. You're still going to see the externally managed flag. You're still going to see a little AD moniker on your users, right? But you just know that you shut the AD domain controllers off. There's a little bit cleaner way, which is just a little bit more lift, right? And that is actually removing AD from JumpCloud completely. You get Active Directory out of JumpCloud, and then we have to change the externally managed flag for that user using PowerShell. So we have to tell JumpCloud that that user is no longer an externally managed user and is now just a straight JumpCloud user, right? If we have the import agent only, your passwords are actually managed by AD. JumpCloud doesn't own that password. AD owns that password. So you must go through this process. You must remove AD from JumpCloud, and you must change the externally managed flag for those users, because JumpCloud is not the arbiter. We are not the controller of that password for those users. So this is what the technical procedure looks like, and this is what we're about to do. Live demo. We'll see how that goes. So basically, you stop the JumpCloud services on all your DCs. Well, I'm assuming they're on your DCs. You could have these JumpCloud agents that are running on member servers as well. Either way, we want to stop all those. We want to probably set them to disable as well, so that they don't automatically restart when you reboot the machine. Then we want to pause the import agents that we have inside of JumpCloud. You have to wait about 15 minutes for those import agents to become deletable. Now, before we started this call, I already stopped the import agent and I already disabled the import agent, so I'm not going to do that process because I didn't want to have to wait for 15 minutes while we twiddle our thumbs here on this IT hour. And then we can delete the import agents. We can delete the sync agents, right? And then we delete the entire domain from JumpCloud completely. So the domain simply goes away. And then using PowerShell, we're going to connect to this organization, and then we're going to set the externally managed flag to be false. There's a couple of different ways to do this. You can do one user at a time. we'll kind of do that to start, and then we can do all users in the whole organization. I think Urvashi is going to post a link. We have a Help Center article that has these commands in it and tells you how to do this. And then, of course, you can always, find information about installing our PowerShell module so that you can connect to your org through PowerShell as well. So with that, let's go to the demo. I'm going to switch back to the screen so we can go and refer to it. So first thing we're going to do is move my doc back over. I apologize. And we're going to look here and see. Let's do a little refresh. We're going to do a quick little walkthrough through the admin portal. So we can see that I have a single domain, Tyrell Corp local here. You can go look at my domain agents. Since I shut this down more than 15 minutes ago, see it was 38 minutes ago, I now have a little delete button. I'll be able to delete this in a moment. But if I go look at my users, I'll see I have a few different users in here, and they have this little AD integration flag, right? This is that externally managed equals true. That's what this is showing right here. If you go to your user list and you choose your columns, you can also see externally managed true. But really what we care about is we want to get rid of this AD integration, and we want to get rid of this completely from here. So what's our process? We're going to go to the domain controller itself. I already disabled and shut down the import agent. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to stop it. Then let's disable it completely so that it cannot start on a reboot. Okay, we're good to go. All right, step one. And if we go here, that's our step one, right? We waited our 15 minutes. It's kind of our step 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go do our step 4. So step 4 is going here to the actual domain itself. Let's go to the agents. Let's delete the import agent. See you later. Sync agent. There you go. Right. And you'll see that was our 4th step. Our 5th step is deleting the entire AD domain. Simple as going like this, clicking the delete button. Now the section is going to be back in a 0 state. So now AD is gone from JumpCloud, but we still have a situation where all of our users are still considered externally managed, right? So here we go. We're going to convert our externally managed users with PowerShell. So let's go to PowerShell. I've already pre-connected because it's a lot easier. We can do a get JC user with the dash return properties to show externally managed flag and username. This is kind of a simple way to just get a list of your users. And there you can see that with externally managed is set to true on all of these. Shows their username, and then it shows their user ID as well, right? So here is a command. It's set-jc user-username, and then we put the user's name in there. I'm doing Cecilia Adler this time. And then we're going to set the externally managed flag to false. And that just processed it. If we want to go look at it in a cleaner way, we can do this again. And now we can see externally managed is false. Fairly simple, right? That was doing one user at a time. And now we can go ahead and we can do the rest of the user. Now, I always recommend maybe doing it for one user, coming back to your admin portal, and boom, there we go. So she's no longer AD integration. She is a standard straight JumpCloud user now. And then we can go process this for everybody else. Here's the command. So you're doing get JC user. When you run a get command like this, it's going to pull every user. And then we're going to set JC user, and we're not going to specify a specific user this time. And we're simply going to say get all users and then set all users to externally managed false. Go like this. Takes a second to run. And then if I do this one more time, you'll see false, false, false. Come back into my admin portal, and there we go. We'll do one refresh just to show. And that's it. We have now cut the cord from AD. It's actually quite simple, as you saw. I mean, that took all of 5 minutes, right? So once you understand what this process is, it becomes a very simple thing to do. And then if you ever needed to reincorporate Active Directory again, you would just go through the same process you did when you set it up the first time. That's it in a nutshell.
I was so nervous. Like, it's a demo. It's not a real environment. And I was still like, oh, it's clicking the delete button. I would never make it as an IT admin. I would not. No way. I can't be in charge of that many things.
So let's talk about a comment that Brandon made, Roger, and see if this is something we can talk about a little bit. He said, "Warning for those considering using JumpCloud to replace AD. JumpCloud is super limited on attributes it can sync, which can lead to issues where you may still need to use manual processes to set up accounts."
I can speak to this. So today, right now, Active Directory and JumpCloud synchronization is, oh, that's excellent. Look at that. Today, we're doing first name, last name, username, uh, password, user state, and group membership. We are actively working on, and fingers crossed for Q2, deployment of being able to do all attributes, including custom attributes, synchronization between AD and JumpCloud. This is the one environment that we are the most limited in our attributes today. We have lots of attribute that we can carry over from JumpCloud to other solutions such as Google Workspace, such as Azure AD, such as, excuse me, any any solution out there, any SaaS app that supports like SCIM provisioning, etc. The world is your oyster. It's specifically with the ADI, the Active Directory integration, where we have kind of this limited set of one hand's worth of attributes. But very, very soon you will see that support all attributes, or maybe not all, but a significantly larger portion, including custom attributes. So, Brandon, just hold on a little bit, and then we'll have full attributation. Not sure if that's a word, just made it up, between JumpCloud and Active Directory.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear. Hopefully that's exciting, Brandon. So stay tuned. Awesome. Were there any other questions, Urvashi, that we needed to kind of look at?
Not that I saw, but you guys can put your questions in. But Kelly did say earlier that there will be no thumb twiddling, even if we did take the 15 minutes, like I said earlier, Roger. So I'm just going to use this as I told you so. But Kelly was like, no thumb twiddling. Ah, say that 5 times. We just spent 20 minutes talking about coffee or tacos or something. So you're welcome to do like a really honest live demo where we just wait for 15 minutes.
That's true. I mean, look at what we did in the beginning. We could certainly fill the time with absolute nonsense. In fact, I think we did that on one IT hour where we talked about the news and we literally filmed the entire show.
We had like 10 articles to go through, and then I think by article 3, it was already at the top of the hour. So we had to call it. There is one question now from Josh that he had marked it.
I can speak to that. Josh says, I may have missed it, but what about the device management? So the integration between JumpCloud and Active Directory is about user management. That's what we're propagating, is the ability to synchronize users, right? There's an intention that very likely, if you have Active Directory member machines, part of that second phase, that second step along your journey, the shrinking your AD environment, would very likely be migrating those end user computers, those Windows 10, those Windows 11 machines, to JumpCloud device management, right? So that would probably come before you pulled the plug on the user synchronization. So ADI specifically is for user synchronization. We have other tools. We have something called the ADMU, another acronym that I don't like saying, Active Directory Migration Utility. What it is, it's the Active Directory Migration Utility. I have to say that all day long. I prefer to say ADMU. With the ADMU, we actually are able to programmatically effectively convert that AD user that's on that machine to a local user. We dememberize the machine, another made up word. We remove the machine as a member of Active Directory. We dememberize that computer from AD. We install the JumpCloud agent, and then we associate a JumpCloud user to that local user, and then that binds that user to that machine inside of the JumpCloud environment for you. And that's all through the ADMU tool that we've created, right? So very likely you've already done that before you are cutting the cord with that AD synchronization. Hopefully that answers your question, Josh.
I feel like we're expanding our vocabularies today. So thanks.
I would like to start a petition to use the word banish or exile. Make it really dramatic.
Maybe just separate would be
Banish.
We're gonna have to get you a
Sorry.
band hammer. Oh, I'm trying to look to see
Don't
where
you
my
have one?
hammer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I wonder if my kid moved it or something because it's around here somewhere. Okay, so we got the device management. So Ben says, speaking of device management, there's one gap that I hope JumpCloud can cover. I should just put this up.
Yeah.
Concept of shared devices, able to log in to any device on the domain. I know some people talk about that with like kiosks and stuff, right?
I can speak to this too if you want, Becky.
Yeah,
That's what I
please.
do all day. So really, I think Ben, what you're talking about is roaming profiles, right? Roaming profiles are really an aspect specifically of Active Directory. I was an IT person for a long time before I was a senior sales engineer. I was an IT director for most of my career. And I built a lot of infrastructures using AD. And, AD comes from an era where we primarily had physical servers, pre-virtualization. Everybody had wired connections. Wi-Fi was rare, and everybody had desktop machines. Or if they had a laptop, it was a big clunky laptop, right? And the idea of being all in the same broadcast domain and everybody being physically in one space made a ton of sense. And still to this day, roaming profiles are really an aspect of AD specifically. So JumpCloud's method for this is really more about auto binding users to all devices. We have lots of customers who are running, medical facilities and whatnot, and they have, 20 people, 20 machines. Everybody logs into whatever machine they want. Roaming profiles, not Roman profiles, Becky. Roaming. Um, so
But
the
Nathan says ramen profiles, which I
ramen.
like.
I like ramen profiles better. So the intention here is you can easily set up a user group that's called all users, and then you can set up a device group that's called all Windows devices, and you can cross bind those two groups together, and now all the users from that user group will automatically be bound to all devices. And then users can now log into each device. Of course, this is not a roaming profile, so their desktop isn't necessarily following them. But this works really good in the modern era where everything is done online. The vast majority of companies are just starting a browser. So if all you need to do is authenticate a user to a device and enforce MFA to log into that device, and then let them start a browser, right? Having this individual profile on each machine is a really viable solution. And this is the way we call it hot desking. That's kind of the newish term. And the idea with hot desking is you just set this up automatically. Nowadays with JumpCloud, we have dynamic groups. So you can have a dynamic group that's all Windows machines. You can have a dynamic group that's all users or all users of a certain department. And literally you add a user to JumpCloud, however you get them there. We got 15 ways to do that. That's your pick. That user can automatically be assigned to a group and then will automatically be provisioned to all 500 machines that you have, whatever that number is, right? And then when you decommission that user, when you suspend that user, within 60 seconds or so, they are suspended on every single one of those computers. They cannot log in. Their account is disabled. So we have a solution. It doesn't exactly mirror roaming profiles, but I think as AD becomes less and less prevalent, Microsoft hasn't updated the schema since 2016 in Active Directory. So that's now going on 8 years. They haven't updated the database schema. It's a little bit of a writing on the wall. It's hard to say exactly, but I think its lifespan is limited. At some point, AD will go away, and then the older concept of roaming profiles will go away as well. And I'll be honest, I've rolled out roaming profiles, and then I unrolled them out because they just were not reliable. Um, some people probably have a much better experience than me, but I've tried to use them multiple times in my career, and they just gave up on them and said they're not viable, they're not reliable enough for us. So hopefully that covers it a little bit.
Oof. I was just reading Ross's that look on my face was Ross's comment. I know some companies that haven't updated 80 since then too. Ouch. When you saw me disappear, by the way, I found it.
Oh, that's a nice hammer.
My dad made this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he does a lot of woodwork and
Hila-
Oh my gosh, how
hilariously,
cool.
yeah, with the different
hilarious.
layers of
Turns out, so do I.
ha. I've got a couple of smaller ones. I got a couple of
I have
smaller ones that he made
intense
for
FOMO
my
now.
kids. Yeah, you've got many more. I've got 2 more that are smaller. But
It's my happy place. I
since
like
I'm
making
the
mallets.
if I'm the head since I'm the head household, I got the giant
That's
hammer,
nice.
and my children got the smaller ones so they can apparently
Well,
fight each other.
my cat is the head of my household, so I might have to give him the mallet if I ever get one. So maybe it's best that I
Oh,
don't have one.
we have little, hand like wooden, they're kind of knives, but they're like mini swords. And I've got bowls. I've got a couple of bowls over here, and he made my mom a bench. And so we've got all kinds of okay, apropos of nothing. I mean, that's totally off topic, but
Ross said it perfectly that it is concerning when there's two people with mallets on either side of you. So
yeah,
grateful
that's
for
right.
remote work.
You're in the middle, so I could just like
Should we screenshot this?
right. Totally.
Thanks, Emily, who advocates for a small cat-sized mallet for the head of my household.
There you go. Little bitty one. That'd be so cute. Take a picture of him napping with it and
I
everything.
know.
All right.
Wait, there is one legitimate on-topic comment from Brandon that says, we had issues at the bank with roaming profiles. It took forever for the first sign-in. His profiles are huge now.
Yeah, and that's one of the concerns with roaming profiles. You sit down on a new computer, you go to log in, and it can take literally 5-10 minutes before it's processed your entire profile, which is not particularly viable if you're trying to make people productive and have them work and actually not twiddle their thumbs while you're paying them money.
Kelly also says, I feel like I can draw a pretty straight line between Rodger's mention of spending most of his career as an IT director and the fact that he now relaxes by making mallet.
Stephen thinks this was planned. I'm like, actually, it was totally not. I didn't know Rodger did woodworking, so I think I've showed this on camera maybe another time or so when we jokingly talk about band hammers. So yeah. Ross says it here. I thought Kelly's comment was the actual serious one. And Brandon says, plus with work from home, your roaming profile will get sync issues. So yeah, there's all kinds of
Well,
issues around that.
I also found out a little while ago that you can have like a cloud instance of your entire like Windows operating system. So could you imagine work from home plus virtual operating system plus roaming profile?
well, the problem with the roaming profile is that it needs to be able to see the domain controller. And if you're working from home and you're not VPN'd in, then you cannot see the domain controller.
So
So
now
this
we've got
is,
VPN, work
yeah,
from home, virtual OS, roaming profile.
this is one of the primary reasons that people make the choice to migrate using like the ADMU, to JumpCloud device management, is that all that device needs is an internet connection. And 99.999% of the time, everybody has an internet connection because that's how they work, right? So all we need is an internet connection and we have full control over that device. Whereas if you want to push a new group policy object, a new GPO from your Active Directory domain controller, you have to call your users, your 300 users sitting at home and say, hey, can you connect to the VPN? What's a VPN? So it's this piece of software on your computer.
Click the
It
search
needs to
button.
update itself. So go to openvpn.com, download this sounds like I'm making a joke, except that like I kind of lived that at one point in my life, where you'd have to call people. You don't know what your password is? Okay, let me reset your password for you. And after 50th user, you're just like, there's got to be a better way. Turns out there is. And now I
I'm
work at
glad I just
JumpCloud
have
for a
one
reason.
mom that asked me this question.
I feel like this is reverting back to when we had Sun terminals and they were just dummy terminals and you didn't have anything but just log in and do everything with nothing on your computer.
Well, there was no computer. It was just a dumb terminal.
Yeah,
It was just a
exactly.
keyboard, video, and a mouse talking to a server.
Yeah. But it had the look of, it had like a stand, so it made you feel like you had a computer, but it was just a
Yep.
stand to put the
I'm
monitor
gonna
on. So
Google this because I think I might be too young for this reference. I'm just gonna, what did you say they were? Sun computers?
Sun terminals.
Sun
It was literally
terminals.
just a terminal, but they had a little, what looked like a computer, one of those flat boxes under it, that kind of looked like a computer.
Oh my God.
Jonathan
What
on a
is
farm.
this?
Oops.
What in the ancient technology is this?
Wait a minute. Are you calling me old, Urvashi? Did you
I'm
just
calling
call
the
me
technology. Oh no.
a?
Digging a hole to crawl into, BRB.
You better put that shovel down.
It wasn't me, it was my sassy alter ego.
Okay. Uh-huh. All right.
Okay, sorry, bye.
You should have quickly
Wait,
grabbed
so
the
okay.
mustache and blamed it on your dad.
I mean, okay, but now I genuinely want to know, like, what could this do? What did it do?
How much time do you have?
We have 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
What's
So
the 5-minute
yeah,
version?
the world has gone through some interesting. I mean, I've been in IT since, 31. I can't believe it's been 31 years. 1993.
I am 32 years old. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not young. Thanks, Urvashi. Appreciate that.
Sorry.
So we've gone through lots of iterations, right? Of being thin client was the only way, virtualization, virtual desktop environments was the only way, and then that went away. It's called VDI, right? Virtual desktop really made a ton of sense for a while. There was dumb terminals like you're looking at, which is just a little box that's just a KVM keyboard video mouse that connects you to some other service or server. And then once people realize that laptops can be thin, they can be powerful, they can be really functional business tools that people started working from home, the concept of having a locked in terminal that's connected via a wire to your servers stops being as enticing as it once was, right? So I've seen the ebbs and flows. I actually worked for the PR firm that launched Citrix. So like I was at the PR firm and playing with Citrix software when Citrix was first coming out, and seeing kind of how their virtualization software worked. And it was called, I think the first product I played with was called Citrix WinFrame. No, I think it was WinFrame first. I mean, this is like Windows 3.11 era. I mean, this is when you were 3 years old, or was she? Maybe 5. But yeah,
This is now like one of those BuzzFeed videos where they give like kids today a Windows 98 machine and they're like, what do you do with this?
Or a Walkman, and they don't have any idea what a Walkman is.
Or a rotary phone.
Yeah. So
well, I know all of those things.
The reality is, we've gone through kind of technical evolutions, and then we've come back to that the right and simplest way for people to be productive is having a laptop computer that allows them to work from anywhere. These are highly capable machines now. I mean, an entry level Apple Silicon Mac is 1,000 times more capable than the most expensive computer I had 10 years ago, right? Maybe 15 years ago. So let's just control those devices, right? So I mean, it's fascinating to me, right? Like I remember a world before virtualization. I remember a world before VPNs. I remember a world, before Wi-Fi was really viable and just everywhere, right? I remember a world before our cell phones didn't just have buttons on them. Yeah, so seeing where we've come, it's mind-blowing to me, and it's hard for me to explain to other people who haven't been in the IT field for so long to also understand like the ludicrousness that I paid $300 for a 340 megabyte hard drive, $300. This was a good deal, in 1991, right? And then I recently bought 20 terabyte hard drives for $390. And I did the math. I mean, it's like thousands of times cheaper per megabyte than it used to be, right? So there's just some like technology has come to such an incredible point, and then something, I work at JumpCloud because our technology just enables this ability to do things that I never had as an IT director, and for the first 15 odd 20 odd years of my career. Yeah, and I still got Win 3.1 sealed in the box. That's awesome, Ross. Like
I feel like I want to put this.
Maybe you should donate that to a museum.
I was just lamenting recently that I have gotten rid of all my old computing stuff, and I just wish I still had it. Like all the
I
old stuff I wrote on floppy disk, like it's all been thrown away.
I
I
got rid
wish I
of my
still had it.
first cell phone and stuff. Like I had a Qualcomm that had the flip up earpiece, and like that's literally
I had a brick.
museum stuff. Oh, I had
I
a
had a
brick phone too.
I
I
had
had
a
a
brick.
Motorola brick, but I
Yeah.
also had the Qualcomm phone that the earpiece flipped up. And when I went to Qualcomm, I saw the patent application. They had it up on their wall of patents, and it was the coolest thing to see that. I'm like, dang, I wish I'd kept that phone because there it is right there.
These comments are so funny.
Novell. Jonathan, yeah, I started in the Novell world as well. Actually, Banyan Vines for about 1 second and then switched to Novell.
Kelly's saying, or she isn't saying you're old. She's saying Moses brought the commandments down, written on a couple of stone terminals.
That's when I was like covering my
HR
mouth
is
and
about to get
practically
called.
practically crying because I was trying not to laugh out loud.
Kelly, you're saying BRB gotta go get the pesky kids off my lawn. I'm already that person. If there's children playing loudly outside, I'm gonna be telling them to find someone else
Try living
to be
across
noisy.
from the playground. Because
No,
when it's nighttime and they're not supposed to be out there anymore, like after dark, it closes. Like the gates lock and everything, but sometimes they still get in there somehow anyway. And I'm going out there going, "What are you doing? What are you doing out? You're not supposed to be there." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I've turned into that old lady that polices the playground.
I am 100% that lady. Kelly's also saying I did hard drive support for a stretch. That company sold a 1 gigabyte drive, and people would say, "What on earth does someone need that much space for?"
And now, how many gigabytes do I have on my phone? Those people would have their minds blown. They probably, if they really thought back to it, they probably would blow their minds.
I mean, I can't wait to see what happens in the next like 20, 30 years. Like I feel like there's a lot of hype right now, and I just really want the hype to be lived up to because there's so many ideas being talked about, so many things that have like crypto and NFTs like shot into the spotlight and then died. So like Web 3, 3.0, what's happening? Blockchain was all the rage for a while. So I feel like I'm living in this era of like ideas like flashing and then disappearing and then flashing and then disappearing. So
Well, I mean, even like Roger and I, when we were kids, like none of this even existed. Okay. So that's mind blowing. And I think it'll be really interesting when my kids grow up for them to look back at their childhood and see how much has changed. Like remember when Netflix used to mail out DVDs, you know? It's just really incredible how
Yeah,
fast.
remember when AI was just a book written by a famous sci-fi author and not something that you could literally just get for free on any device and have it tell you anything you wanted accurately? Well, that's another story, but
Without hallucinations? Well, maybe we'll get
yeah,
there someday. But I mean, think about reading stuff by Isaac Asimov and Neil Stevenson and stuff like that, and just how what? Even Ready Player One, just things
yeah.
like that. And now you're looking around going, we've got Vision Pros and other virtual and augmented reality headsets, and we're like right on that cusp. It's really it can be if you sit and really think about it instead of taking it for granted,
it's wild.
it's mind-blowing.
Sounds like you might need to have a nostalgia IT hour where we do a
I
presentation
know.
about where we were and where we are today,
I
just for
have put that
fun.
in the idea list in
Definitely.
Asana.
We
Yeah,
should,
we
and
should.
we should get some people
I
both.
volunteer to come back.
Yeah, and we should get some people that have, been in IT for a lot, or just in technology for a long time. Another guest we've had on several times, my friend Ken, I bet he would dig that because he's um, a little bit older than me, and so I'm sure he'll have some
We should also
nostalgic
get
ideas.
someone who like joined JumpCloud as a recent grad, just like to showcase the contrast.
Oh, yeah. Or even somebody like Urvashi, who's just a little bit younger
I
than
was
us.
trying to put myself in the middle with that recommendation.
Mhm.
So
Oh, yeah, a variety, like, just have a panel um, of different people, the different ages to contrast the,
no, but I did have a really great conversation with some of my former colleagues like many years ago about like which piece of technology has changed the most in your lifetime. And we had like a really mixed age group. So everybody was talking about like, oh, it was mainframe to personal computing, or it was, something else. And for me, it was like, oh, it was landlines to smartphones was like the major shift that I experienced. So I mean, we're going to see what the next generation has to say. Like, oh my
well,
God, you have to open individual apps. Press.
like, you have to
Just
download
tell
stuff
my
to your
rabbit
computer?
AI. I
Like, you
just
have
tell
to
my rabbit AI to do everything.
totally. I mean, it's even what my kids, compare to what I grew up with. I mean, they've never known anything without the internet or without Wi-Fi or without little phones in your back pocket. What's an iPod?
I still have my first one.
Or
Yeah.
Zune.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Totally. So it's just funny how, different ages have different experiences and yeah. I think a nostalgia show would be fun, but tell us in the comments what y'all think and if any of you want to volunteer as tribute to be on
And
that. Yeah, Scuzzy Jumpers. Oh my goodness. That's
I'm going to put a
Ooh.
poll in about whether or not I should be invited to this.
Oh, Napster. Downloading songs. Holy
Oh,
moly.
that's cool.
Oh,
Ross works
Ross.
with one of the co-founders of Silicon Graphics. That's impressive.
Wow. That's really neat.
Okay, I put the poll in. You guys, please vote.
All right. Yeah. So and also, yes, Urvashi, of course you should be invited. But if anyone else wants to, reminisce on screen with us, I mean, you can always reminisce in the chat, but we've got room to have more faces on the screen. So if you want to, I remember people, uh, someone in my family, not me, used it, and when I saw the lights on the router continuing to go well after, I was like, oh, I think somebody downloaded a virus when they were downloading a song and had to like cut that off and then get the virus off the computer because, it shouldn't still be downloading after when
It's
the
done.
song should have been done.
Look, what?
You 3D printed the save button.
But it's called a floppy coaster, and it is just a floppy.
I love
I
it.
thought it was a floppy disk.
I love it.
It is
I
a
love it.
floppy something. It's a
Mhm.
floppy coaster.
I love it.
That's brilliant.
I wonder if
This
I
has
have
stayed on my
any.
desk for the last 10 years.
I used to have some 3.5, but I don't think I have any 5.25s anymore at all.
I have 1.8, 1 5 1/4, and a handful of 3.5s I just can't get rid of because there's potentially still data on them if I ever get around to buying a USB 3.5-inch reader. But I have an 8-inch from a Wang word processor that I used to try to code in that I couldn't code in because I
I
never
mean,
read the book that was this thick on how to write Wang code.
but the problem is if you've got those, do you have anything you can actually use
Absolutely
to read
not.
them?
They're just for cool nostalgia purposes. I probably should make
So
a
you
I should make a stand and put them on my. I have a little like section that's like old technology. I should probably
It's
put them
art
up
now,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, you should make like a little shadow box or something and then just put them in a frame and
What is
some sort of
this?
art.
Yeah. Do you know what this is? It's a
I had to
test.
do an assembly programming class in college, and we were trying to code addition Oh my God. I was so grateful for how far computing had, like programming had gone from assembly to just Java. And now I'm like doing a Python course, and I'm like, Python doesn't need like anything compared to like Java or C++. So
I was
just
excited
loving
when I
Python.
got a typewriter for Christmas. That was it was already, I already had electric typewriters, but this one was more like a word processor in that you could type a a good number of words in it and it would save it, and then you could print it out, or it would save it as you were typing. So if you wanted to like do a like an application for some, like if you were applying to college or something, you could like save it and then have it reprint it. And then all you had to do was like fill in a few things. So the fact that it saved stuff like a word processor, but it didn't have a screen like a word processor. It was just a typewriter. So if I wrote a letter to a friend and I wanted to like save a copy for me, I could do that and all that stuff. And it had quite a good memory for a typewriter. So that was like high tech to me because I could type assignments in it and everything.
But I feel like a lot of that tech is coming back around. Like everybody's obsessed with Polaroids again. And I feel like there is like a movement of like I'm done with my smartphone. I want to go back to like a not
I
smartphone.
I've seen some little mini keyboards that are like, here you can write with no distractions. And it's literally a
Yeah,
keyboard
exactly.
with a
People are
little
gonna circle
tiny.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all gonna go offline again soon.
Oh, I remember the Iomegas, Roger. So yeah, your PR firm launched that.
I worked for the PR firm that launched Citrix. We were HP's PR firm, and we launched iOmega. So I had thousands of zip drives and jazz drives. Everybody had one at their desk. So it just looks at infinite supply. And every month, maybe every quarter, not every month, every quarter, I would have a printer giveaway because we always had printers. And it would just be like, okay, there's 15 printers, put your name in a hat. And then if we pull your name, you get to pick one of the printers. So my mom and dad to this day have a LaserJet 4MV that I got 20 plus years ago that just keeps printing. We replace the toner about every decade. It's great. Free printer because once HP is done with them for their briefing book, they're just like dispose of them, give them away or whatever. So yeah, it's a pretty cool gig that like everybody had, $300, $500,000 printers in their home office because we just had them in abundance. Crazy
But
environment.
one thing that has stood the test of time across generations, across nations, continents, through wars, is Active Directory, which hasn't changed at all since its
It's changed a
inception.
little. It's changed a little, but just a little.
Just a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, correct.
Ross says,
You can now do things online.
Not really.
when HP made good printers.
I mean, those printers are still. I was just on the subreddit printers because I was curious if I can upgrade the memory of my mom and dad's printer because I was just there trying to print. I was like, really? 2 minutes to start a print? Turns out you can upgrade them to like 48 megs or something. But yeah, people are still rocking these old LaserJet 3s, 3Ps, 4s, 4MVs. Like people are like, I'm never getting rid of this printer. I will fix it if it ever breaks.
I think my little mini laser printer was like a 4 or something, and I had it for the longest time, and it
Yeah.
it was great. But finally, I didn't know you could upgrade the memory, and I think I finally gave it to someone though because I was just printing too big of files, and I needed color, so I got a color laser jet. And yes, it's the same one we talked about I think last week, y'all. And yes, I still need to figure out why it's printing nonsense from the cache, and I have not messed with it. I haven't had time to like troubleshoot it. But we are somewhat jokingly planning if we ever like have a get together, we need to have an open field with old non-working printers
You
and
see
a
those
few
better?
bats. Yep. Yep. And a few bats. And that's going to be our open space rage room with printers. Printer edition. Yep.
As long as we have slow-mo video of Hammer strikes.
Yeah, we'll have to,
I'm in. I'm
we'll have to
in.
get that too. All right. All right, everyone. We are a little bit past time. Thank you for hanging out with us. Roger, thanks for joining us. Excellent to have you with us. And we'll have to think of some additional topics so you can come back and see us again.
Anytime, anytime.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for being active in the chat and bringing us some good comments and questions as well. And we will see you next week for the last Friday of the month. I know it's Good Friday and a lot of people will be off, and that's okay. But I think we are still planning on being here and doing it anyway because, well, we still work anyway. So I'm sure some of you do too. So have a great weekend, and I hope it's nice weather for you. We'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone.